In January 2019, WeWork was worth $47 billion. 6 weeks after filing to go public, that number had collapsed to under $10 billion. Its founder was gone, and the company that called itself a technology brand was exposed as something much simpler, an office rental business losing money on nearly every desk it leased. This is the story of how WeWork built one of the biggest hype machines in startup history and how it all came apart in a matter of weeks. WeWork was founded in 2010 by Adam Neumann and Miguel McKelvey, who opened their first location on Grand Street in Soho, Manhattan. The business itself was straightforward. Sign long-term leases on large commercial buildings, subdivide the space into smaller offices and desks, then rent that space back out on short, flexible terms to freelancers, startups, and small businesses. That's it. That's the whole model. Lease long, rent short, pocket the difference. But Adam Neumann never described it that way. He pitched WeWork as something bigger, a physical social network, a company built around community, and a shared philosophy he called We. Neumann talked about elevating the world's consciousness. He wanted WeWork valued not like a real estate company, but like a technology company, and incredibly, for years, that's exactly what happened. The person who made that possible was Masayoshi Son, the head of Japan's SoftBank Group. After meeting Neumann for a 12-minute conversation, Son was reportedly so impressed he decided to invest on the spot. SoftBank poured billions into WeWork over the following years, pushing its valuation from $17 billion to a staggering $47 billion by January 2019. That number wasn't based on conventional business fundamentals like profit or even a clear path to profit. It was based on growth metrics, ambition, and Neumann's ability to sell a vision. Investors weren't just buying office space. They were buying into a story. And for a while, the story worked. WeWork expanded rapidly across North America, Europe, and Asia, including a major push into India through a partnership with Embassy Group in 2017. New locations kept opening. Membership numbers kept climbing. Neumann became a kind of startup celebrity, known for walking around barefoot, closing deals over tequila shots, and talking about WeWork's mission with almost messianic intensity. Employees described a culture that felt more like a movement than a job, with company retreats, wellness rituals, and a genuine belief among many early staff that they were building something world-changing, not just leasing desks. The hype was the product, and Wall Street was lining up to buy in. Bankers at Goldman Sachs reportedly floated a valuation as high as $65 billion for WeWork's eventual public offering. Never mind that the company was losing billions of dollars a year. The pitch was too exciting to ignore. Then came August 14, 2019. WeWork filed its S-1, the required document any company must publish before going public, and this 300-page filing revealed everything the hype had been covering up. Investors could finally see inside the tech company, and what they found looked nothing like 1. The filing showed $1.6 billion in losses in 2018 alone, on revenue of only around $1.8 billion, meaning the company was losing almost as much as it made. It revealed a maze of related party transactions, including the fact that WeWork was paying rent to buildings that Adam Neumann personally owned, effectively meaning the company's own losses were partly flowing into its founder's pocket through separate real estate holdings. It revealed that Neumann had been paid millions of dollars for the rights to the word "we" after trademarking it personally and then selling it back to his own company. And it revealed a governance structure that gave Neumann extraordinary personal control, including super voting shares worth 20 votes each, essentially guaranteeing he could never be outvoted by his own board, along with provisions that could have let his wife help pick his successor if he died or became incapacitated. Wall Street was stunned. Analysts started asking questions nobody had bothered asking before. And the more they looked, the worse it got. Within days, the sky-high $65 billion valuation talk was gone. By early September, bankers were suggesting a public valuation as low as $20 billion. The company scrambled, stripping out governance protections and even having Newman return the $5.9 million he'd personally been paid for the We trademark. None of it was enough. By mid-September, the number being floated had fallen even further to around $10 billion. An 80% collapse from January's peak, and public market investors still weren't convinced. On September 24, 2019, under mounting pressure from SoftBank and WeWork's board, Adam Neumann was forced to step down as CEO. 6 days later, on September 30th, the company formally withdrew its IPO altogether. The deal that was supposed to be one of the biggest public offerings of the decade was dead just 6 weeks after it began. The fallout was brutal and swift. Roughly 2,400 employees, about 19% of WeWork's global workforce, lost their jobs within weeks, with reports suggesting the company had even considered cutting as many as 5,000 roles, a full third of its staff, as it scrambled to reduce the sky-high costs of a money-losing operation. Company was reportedly running dangerously low on cash, weeks away from potentially running out entirely, and was forced into talks with JP Morgan for an emergency last-minute cash infusion to replace the capital that was supposed to come from the now-dead IPO. SoftBank, having already poured more than $10 billion into WeWork, faced an impossible choice: let the company collapse completely or throw even more money at it to keep it alive. In October 2019, SoftBank chose to rescue it, taking on a roughly 80% ownership stake at a valuation now under $8 billion, a fraction of what it had been worth just months earlier. And what happened to Adam Neumann himself? Despite walking away from a company he'd driven to the edge of collapse, Newman's exit package was reported to be worth up to $1.7 billion, including nearly $1 billion for his shares, a $185 million consulting fee, and $500 million in credit to help repay his personal loans. The employees who lost their jobs got severance. The founder who lost the company billions got a payout most people can't imagine. The bigger picture is even bleaker. SoftBank's Masayoshi Son, the man who had pushed WeWork's valuation to $47 billion in the first place, later admitted his investment judgment had been, in his own words, foolish. By May 2020, SoftBank was valuing WeWork at under $3 billion. Minority shareholders eventually sued SoftBank, claiming it had manipulated the valuation and later backed out of a promised tender offer to buy their shares, a lawsuit SoftBank ultimately settled for $490 million in 2021. The company limped along for years afterward, cutting costs and renegotiating leases across hundreds of locations worldwide, but the damage was structural. In November 2023, WeWork finally filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing around $19 billion in debt against roughly $15 billion in assets, and reportedly owing close to $100 million in unpaid rent and lease termination fees to landlords it had once promised to revolutionize the industry for. The company that once called itself worth $47 billion saw its stock fall to 84 cents a share, valuing the entire business at roughly $44 million. From $47 billion to $44 million. WeWork eventually emerged from bankruptcy in 2024 under new ownership, a dramatically smaller, quieter company than the one Newman once described as changing the world's consciousness. So, what's the actual lesson in all of this? WeWork's collapse wasn't really about one eccentric founder walking around barefoot and talking about elevated consciousness. It was about what happens when a company gets valued on story instead of fundamentals, and when nobody with real power is positioned to challenge the person telling that story. Every red flag inside WeWork got reframed as the cost of building something historic. Every warning sign was buried under the momentum of the hype. And it took one public document, a 300-page S1 filing that anyone could read, to bring the entire $47 billion dollar illusion crashing down in 6 weeks. The next time you hear a company described purely in terms of vision, growth, and disruption, with no real mention of whether it can actually turn a profit, remember WeWork. Hype can inflate a valuation. It can't sustain one. Thanks for watching this backstory. If you found this one fascinating, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden stories behind the biggest names in business, and I'll see you in the next one.